So greetings, greetings to all of you, wherever in the world you are in this moment. Happy to be practicing together. How wonderful to be able to join this wonderful Sangha, saying all the hellos from different places in the world and to practice together. So continuing today our practice, our exploration of the feeling tone, Vedana, the second foundation of mindfulness. So we started on Monday noticing Vedana, noticing feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, associated with moments of experience, with objects that come into experience. And yesterday we explored, the invitation was to explore our relationship to Vedana. If we notice that a sense of pleasantness is associated with an object, does the mind want more of it? What happens? Just a sense of curiosity. And of course, we'll follow up with that more with the relationship, which is very, very important actually. And whether with unpleasant Vedana, we try to push it away, we try to make it stop. So we're going to continue our exploration today, noticing Vedana. And in Buddhist psychology, feeling tone is said to show up in every moment's experience with every object. When every object comes in contact with consciousness, this feeling tone arises, whether or not we notice it. So I'll guide us today after settling in with the breath and the body, to explore how feeling tone, valence, hedonic tone, different names for it, how Vedana shifts and changes. It's not fixed. It's subject to our perception. It's not inherent in the object at all. Based on our moods, our perceptions, our assumptions, how we feel, it might be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Vedana arising associated with an object, and Vedana shows up in all 6 sense doors, all the senses of taste and touch and smell and hearing, as well as the mind door with our thoughts. So, and it might be simplest for our exploration today to do that with respect to sounds. That's what I found in the past. Could be most instructive. So I'll suggest some invitations. So let's get started. So I'd like to invite you to get into your meditation posture now. If you need to perhaps shift your weight to sit up more straight. And landing. Landing in the body in this moment. Arriving each and every moment, a new arrival. Greeting the body. Hello, body. How are you in this moment? Greeting the body with kindness, with care. Inviting it to relax and soften. nowhere to go and nothing to do in this moment. But to be here right now and take refuge in this moment. Inviting the body to be calm, settled. Moving the center of gravity down, down, down from our heads, our forehead, our eyes, our jaw, relaxing them all, and moving the center of gravity of our awareness down through our chest, touching the heart center, opening the heart in this moment, down to the abdomen, and letting awareness rest in the lower abdomen in your sit bones. Awareness of the breath, the lower body. And letting go of any holding, tightness, and the out-breath of the entire body. Landing more deeply. Receiving the breath in the body. As I invite you to become aware of Vedana, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling tone of an experience. It's not to be done from the head, the control tower. You're not supposed to think about it and try to figure it out, but to feel from the body, receive, notice, as if you're an antenna and trying to tune into the channel of Vedana with your body, not your head, your whole body. Feeling Vedana, knowing it, not thinking about it. For example, receiving the breath, feeling the breath in the body. As your gaze is turned inwards, noticing the expansion, contraction, the movement. Open up to any feelings that might be pleasant, unpleasant, or neither, associated with the breath, this breath. And maybe nothing comes up, in which case it might be neutral. Don't think about it. Let yourself feel it. You might notice a slight pleasantness, which is sitting, or maybe unpleasantness if you're trying too hard. It's just that, very simple, very light. Maybe noticing all of a sudden that your jaw or forehead or shoulders are tight. Maybe slight, not so pleasant. Maybe your bottom on the cushion feels stable, grounded, landed. A little bit of pleasant, ever so slight, exploring the body door of the sensations. Maybe the breath feels smooth or tight, either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. See how Vedana keeps shifting and changing with every new object of the mind that comes in contact with the body door of awareness. Keeps shifting and changing, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. It's not permanent. It stays for a while, then changes. Continuing to be settled in the body with the breath now opening up the awareness to sounds, what's called the ear door of consciousness. And as there is silence, sound of my voice, background sounds, the sound of birds, I hear where I am, an occasional crow, cars passing, whatever sounds arise and pass. Resting, receiving the relaxed body, receiving the sounds. Also receiving the feeling tone associated. And if one is not easily perceived, the Vedana, it could be neutral. See if there's an absence of pleasant and unpleasant, hence to notice the neutral. Receiving in the body, receiving, not thinking about it. Now an invitation to an experiment. Take on the perspective that these sounds are the most beautiful music that you've heard, as if you were the symphony hall or your favorite venue. And all these sounds are just mellifluous. See how the perspective might shift the perception of Vedana. Listening with care, curiosity, and interest in all sounds. And now, the second part of the experiment. Now take on the perspective that all sounds are distractions from your meditation. It's supposed to be quiet. It must be so in order for you to be able to meditate. And see how that might change this perspective, might change your perception of Vedana, of the sounds, the feeling tone. of the same sound now might feel unpleasant. And now again, changing our perspective, which is the easiest thing to change, of all sounds being our teachers, or perhaps experimenting sounds are just sounds. They arise and pass, just like clouds in the sky. They come and go. See how this perspective might shift the perception of freedom. And for the last moments of this practice period, noticing what general, what Vedana is present with the experience right now of ending the practice, what shows up in the mind door. And just noticing, becoming aware, mindful, and appreciating that you are aware in this moment, appreciating that you've showed up, you've practiced, letting go of the outcome, whatever happened or did not happen, appreciating yourself, Sangha who's supporting you, appreciation for access to the teachings at this time. May our practice, our collective practice together, support the waking up, freedom, ease of every single one of us and all beings everywhere. Thank you all for your practice. So, on the theme of Vedana, feeling tone, the second foundation of mindfulness, continuing our exploration. So, in Buddhist psychology, Vedana is one of the five aggregates, one of the five aspects of experience. And also in Abhidhamma, in higher teachings, it's one of the seven universal mind factors that are present in every moment of experience, always concomitant, always together, shows up together with consciousness. Whenever consciousness at any of the sense doors touches an object, recognition arises, sanya. And Vedana, feeling tone arises in every moment of experience, every moment of experience with, with every object. And it's associated with objects, objects of the mind, body, ear, door, etc. And we often don't notice it, of course, when we're not tuned to it. Many times when it's neutral, as I mentioned yesterday, neutral might be not as easy to detect sometimes, but if we notice the absence of pleasant or unpleasant, then neutral could become more apparent. Now, it turns out, excuse me, it's interestingly enough, as also you noticed, Vedana is not just impermanent, not just keeps shifting and changing one moment to moment. Oh, one moment to, oh, this is unpleasant. My shoulder is tight. My breath is smooth. Unpleasant, pleasant, unpleasant, pleasant, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, neutral. Not only does it keep shifting in the field of experience, but also what's even more fascinating, and I was hoping with the invitation, the guidance this morning, you would see it with the sounds, that even the same object, the feeling tone, the Vedana for it, can switch. One moment it can be perceived as pleasant, another moment the same experience, the same object could be perceived as unpleasant or neutral or pleasant again. It can go back and forth and back and forth. And so much of the Vedana, the feeling tone that our mind perceives, has to do with our perspective, has to do with our assumptions, has to do with our mood, with our emotions. Have you noticed sometimes when, say, you wake up in the morning and maybe you don't feel so well or you're grumpy? Everything seems unpleasant in the environment. Everything seems to have an unpleasant Vedana. Or imagine when you're happy, or say you're in a new environment, you're on vacation. Everything seems, the skies are pleasant, even rain. Maybe you love walking in the rain, and when you're traveling, it's just so pleasant. Whereas if you were in a bad mood, oh, it's wet, it's unpleasant. I'm cold. So many ways to experiment to see that Vedana is impermanent. It keeps shifting and changing, and yet, like a marionette, like a doll on strings, when when we perceive, when rather, let's say, when Vedana arises, the feeling tone arises, then it gets amplified. Maybe it's a tiny little unpleasant feeling at the beginning, and then becomes unpleasant. I don't like it. Make it stop. Make it go away. I hate it. And then clinging, attachment, pushing away. But it all starts from that tiny little Vedana that we don't notice. And we'll explore that aspect of it more tomorrow as we'll look into the wheel of dependent origination, why Vedana is so important. And we'll explore that in the guided meditation tomorrow and that teaching in the Dharma. So for today, continuing with the theme of noticing the impermanence of Vedana, noticing how it shifts even for the same object. For example, another way you can experiment with it is with cold water, sometimes cold, especially cold showers, and say, oh, cold, cold. And then if you just say, oh, refreshing, oh, it can change and really feel good. So there's so many ways that Vedana of the same stimulus can shift. So in Abhidhamma, the compendium of Buddhist psychology, the only the only sense door that has a positive or negative Vedana inherently attached to it is the body door. All the other sense doors all the other 5 sense doors are invariably neutral, and they simply an outcome of one's own evaluation. So it turns out that, of course, all the sense doors have receptors to light, air vibrations, for sound, for chemical stimuli, taste or smell. But none of them have any distinct set of nerves that signify harm. The bodily sensation is the only one, according to Abhidhamma, the higher teachings, that have dedicated sensors that might actually detect, have an unpleasant Vedana associated with them. So I find this particularly interesting that the ancient contemplatives made this observation. And it turns out that actually, when I gave this teaching some time ago, a neuroscientist heard it on a recording and sent me a note saying, yes, actually, this is another example where Buddhist writings, contemplatives really intuited something that we have later found independently in neuroscience and psychology, that the body sensations, touch is made up of several receptors, mechanoreceptors, which feel pressure, thermoreceptors that feel temperature, proprioceptors for body position, and finally nociceptors, which only respond to high intensity, potentially damaging stimuli. And nociceptors are normally inactive until some intense influence acts on it, which we interpret as painful. So fascinatingly, none of the sense doors, so whatever arises, if a sound arises, even if a sensation arises, unless it's really high intensity, there is no inherent Vedana. It's all impermanent. It's all impermanent. It all arises and passes away, and it's all dependent on our perception. So with that, wanted to also share with the invitation that I have for today is to notice um, the how your mind places comparisons. You compare this to that. Oh, this is pleasant. Oh, this is unpleasant. And I hear various comments right now about, I think, the mic, etc. So notice how the mind labels this. These are all practice opportunities, how our minds find something rather unpleasant and try to um, and then lead into other steps of the dependent origination, the um, from contact, from an object at a sense door, contact arises, then Vedana arises, and then tanha arises, clinging, wanting or not wanting, and then upadana, becoming, arises. So all of these making the world is made from, or our worlds are made, our worlds of liking, not liking, getting caught, how we get caught, noticing how we get caught in liking and disliking, making things go away or wanting more of them. It all starts with Vedana, this tiny little like and dislike that then snowballs into our reactivity, into our likes, dislikes, preferences, into wars, all starting from pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, which is why this is such an important teaching and is said to be the place that we can actually um, stop the wheel of dependent origination of suffering, going round and round and round and round in suffering. This is where we can notice it between Vedana and Tanha. When you notice pleasant, unpleasant, neutral before it becomes, ooh, like it, want it, ooh, don't want it, make it go away before we get caught. So it's a very important link. So, um, so the invitation for today is to notice how your perception, how your assumptions influence Vedana and how impermanent it actually is, how it arises, it passes. If you don't, it just changes on its own. Not just overall experience, but for any particular experience. So, there was one question that was asked of me, and I wanted to comment on that. And that, because I thought the question was really of benefit for for um, for everyone. So the idea of Vedana, it can come up. Oh yes, here it is. So I'm remembering the question. The idea that Vedana can come up with different um, objects, sense objects. So one sense object, and they can arise in rapid succession. So, for example, there might be a difficult emotion or difficult thought, like unpleasant, or and then you might see it, with awareness. So there could be pleasantness associated with the seeing. So they can quickly, rapidly shift and change, and there could still be the unpleasantness of the emotion or difficult thought and the pleasantness that you're being mindful with it. And the mind will go back and forth so fast that you think they're both present at the same time, but actually the mind is going back and forth. And the other thing is that, as we will explore tomorrow and Friday, the teaching on Vedana is not to try to push it away or make all Vedana become neutral. That's not the goal of practice at all. However, to have freedom in the midst of it, they arise and pass, pleasant, unpleasant. Yes, you get to enjoy the pleasant without clinging to it. The unpleasant arises. Yep, it's just unpleasant. It's just unpleasant. That's all. You don't have to, unless it's dangerous and a physical, stimulus. If it's to say just an unpleasant sound, it's just unpleasant. Okay. So you can have freedom in the midst of it instead of trying to shift and change the Vedana. That's not the teaching, and we'll explore those again more in the coming days. So thank you all for practicing, both for your own sake and the sake of all those whose lives you touch. Be well. Take good care.